and welcome to another edition of Hey Coach. As you can see, a little bit of change today. Don't have to wear the mask. I got my second vaccine, and I'm with my good friend Danny Ninestine here today. Welcome, Danny.
Thank you for having me again.
Again, this could be the last one now. This is what the show is. It's all about you today, you know. And you've been a great friend, not just work-wise, but family-wise and everything. And the big question for you is, how many days you got left?
As of today, 55, but I'm not counting.
You're not counting. You didn't rip it off the calendar yet, right?
No.
Not yet.
I got big X's, though.
Okay. And how many years would that be?
41. When I finish
41.
June 15th.
Okay. And that's enough.
41. 41's enough.
And the plan next year is to play as many golf as you can, right?
And go back to officiating. I enjoyed basketball and baseball and softball, so I'll go back and do that.
Great.
And, I grew up in upstate New York.
Right.
And it's beautiful in the summer. And in the fall, I haven't seen the leaves change. And
so you're going to travel?
I'm going to travel a little bit.
That's
and,
great.
Visit with my youngest brother, and my other brother and sister-in-law live in New Orleans. So I'll spend a little time there.
Right.
And, come back here during the winter and spring.
That's great.
Looking forward to it.
Well, this show's about you, in a way of giving thank you for all the years you put in. Let's start with your background, okay?
Grew up, went to Catholic school all the way through my senior year of college. Down in Miami at Biscayne College / now St. Thomas University.
And it's changed a little bit, huh?
Yeah, it changed a lot.
Yeah.
Very few people
They
there.
got a football team now,
They got
right?
a football team and they got a bowling team.
We didn't have enough. When I was graduating, I think I was the third graduating class, we didn't have enough to play 7-on-7 football there then. Okay.
I got the opportunity to coach a Little League team when I was 15 years old. And I used to tease everybody that I couldn't drive myself to practice. I had to have my mommy drive me because I didn't have a license. So I started coaching when I was young. Okay. I had an opportunity to coach a middle school basketball program in downtown Miami at Jesu, which is the oldest Catholic school in Miami. I did that for a couple of years, and then I went to Berlin Jesuit Prep, and then we had some riots down there. So I said, let me see if I can't find a small place. So came up to Port St. Lucie in 1983, and 1984, I got the athletic director job at Indian River Academy. When I was there for 2 years, I read an article one time where I was the youngest athletic director and head basketball coach in the state. And then I went to Fort Pierce Westwood High School for 4 years. And I was little man on the totem pole in 1990, and they said I had to go to Port St. Lucie High School.
Brand new school.
Brand new, it was second year. It had already been open.
Okay.
And I said, no, you don't understand. I'm going to be the basketball coach, and I'm going to be in charge of the junior class, and I coach football. They said, you're going to Port St. Lucie High School. So I packed up my stuff, and I came down to Port St. Lucie High School, and our good friend, Charlie Kumo, said, come in my office. He said, look, you're here. I want you coaching. I want you to get involved. So started coaching girls basketball with Bonnie Turk, and John Cartier had just taken over as the football coach. Right. And they got this project going on. A couple of guys started, and they're going to build a stadium there.
Now, what was it before the stadium? For just woods, right?
82 acres. The building took up about a tenth of that, and it was just wilderness out there. So I got involved with Randy Lockey, and we started working on this project, and it became a kind of a 6-year life-changing operation, or I'm not sure the word I'm looking for. And so then I became the athletic director in 1995, and I did that until 2011. My gray hair is because of the testing position that I took for 5 years. They asked me, they needed somebody, I stepped forward, and then I came back 3 years ago. Area Superintendent Adrian Ocampo was the principal, and he said, listen, you need to come back and be the athletic director. And, So I've done that. So yeah, long ride, great places, great people.
That's true. What is the biggest change for being an athletic director when you started until now?
You know, I think, John, it's the work ethic of not only the kids, but the coaches. 6 days a week was nothing when I first started coaching.
Right.
And now it's, well, maybe we'll take Friday off, maybe we'll take Saturday off. And that's probably the most disappointing. Kids are not as interested in getting involved with more than one sport, if at all. They'd rather play on their computer or Game Boy or Xbox or whatever the latest thing is through the years. That's probably the biggest disappointment. My brothers and I played 3 sports in high school. That's what you did.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because for many years I was the chairman of the state academic athletic committee. And in order to qualify, you had to have over a 3.5. You had a letter in a sport for 4 years, but you had a letter more than one sport.
Right.
Some 2 or 3. And then you had to be involved in community service. I think the first year we did it, I was on it with Dave Currier. We had about 500 applicants. Last few years, we barely got over 100. And it wasn't because of the GPA, it wasn't because of community service, it was because you weren't playing more than one sport. But that's correct. Also, probably another thing that, you know, the requirements to be an athletic director. When we first started, we were just ADs, and we cover every game.
Right.
And we had full-time secretaries that were just full-time secretaries. And our times have changed, and they had to make changes. But being an AD now is a lot more than athletics.
Right.
You know, I would see on that. You've been very involved in the community, which I always admired with that. Tell me some of your community, you know, how you got involved in the communities.
You know, I grew up with a dad who got a perfect score on the SAT, and he went to college and became a teacher. He taught for 37 and a half years. And my mom worked for the New York State Lottery. She helped start the New York State Lottery. And, you know, every day they got up and went to work and came home, and they went to our games. And my mom and dad were always involved in their church and in the community. And I always watched that. And a lot of times we had to go help sell tickets for a car raffle at the church or whatever. And so it became installed in my brothers and my sister from a real young age. You know, a quarter a piece, 5 for $1 tickets for the car raffle for the church. And you know, I was involved with the Knights of Columbus early on, and got involved with that, and I'm on the Treasure Coast Sports Commission.
Yeah, explain that, the Treasure Coast Sports Commission, for our folks out there.
Well, they bring in the opportunities for baseball or basketball. Fishing right now is a big deal in these months, and basically it's putting heads in beds.
Okay.
We have great facilities on the Treasure Coast. As during the pandemic, they couldn't play in Martin, Broward, and Dade County, so they came up here. We had a lot of baseball tournaments at Lawnwood and up at Lakewood Park. A lot of people didn't know about. So the hotel people love us because they thought they were going to go under, and they were at 60-70% during the pandemic. So they bring in a lot of activities. Recently, they just secured the Florida Sports Hall of Fame in I call it the City Center. It's the Mid-Florida Civic Center.
Yeah.
And and that's really neat. I encourage everyone to stop by and see it if they go to an activity there, because it's there's a lot of great athletes who have come through Florida that you forget about. I looked up on the wall and saw the jersey of Artis Gilmore. You forgot that he played at Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And Dave Collins that played at Florida State.
Right.
And there's a lot of athletes that you forget about that when we were young, they were like, wow, they're great athletes. And people forgot about, but they have their jerseys, and they have some other information and stuff about the different people. Dick Hauser's in there and people like that. And, I'm also on the board of the Police Athletic League. I really believe in what they're doing, and I'll spend a lot more time with the Police Athletic League, and I'll spend a lot more time with the Treasure Coast Sports Commission. They put on the state swimming.
Right.
Years ago, they did baseball for us.
Right.
Golf we had for many years.
Yeah.
One year we got lacrosse state championship.
Yeah.
So they bring these into the venues on the Treasure Coast, and I mean it's a win-win for the community, because you'd be surprised how many people never really heard of St. Lucie County, Martin County.
Well, that's when people came down for the baseball tournament, right? And they said, wow, this place is beautiful down here. They didn't realize that.
Right.
We're talking about the Hall of Fames. You have started the Port St. Lucie High School Hall of Fame, and you have done that for a few years now, right? And mention some of the young men and women that are in the Port St. Lucie Hall of Fame.
Rick Ankiel was the first. Larry Green. Of course, Larry went on to play at Virginia Tech. He was the first real Division I football player that we had. The McGee brothers that played at Florida State. Mike was the college player of the year. Steve was playing minor league and then a little bit of Major League Baseball. Chad Dirk, who was, one of the first athletes who played professional sports. He played minor league with the Mets. Larry Sanders, who played at Virginia Commonwealth and then went on with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Right, yeah.
Albert Wilson, who's now with the Miami Dolphins.
Right.
John Kulangas, who did the opposite of Rick. He played with the Reds and ended up pitching.
That's how much I knew. I had Rick pitching and John was center field. When he made to the majors, John ended up being the pitcher and Rick ended up being the outfielder. But
just great athletes, but even better, great kids.
But you don't realize how many great athletes went to Port St. Lucie High School. I believe that's probably more than any other school in this area. I really believe that,
John Piccarini, the basketball coach, said, you're the only athletic director around that had 3 athletes, football, baseball, and basketball, who played professional sports in a short period of time with Larry, Albert, and Rick, and also Kulangas.
Yeah.
But there's some great kids, and we're only 32 years old, and we've had a lot of success.
We've had a lot of success. And it's tough because every time, and I know as being one of the athletic directors, every time a new school opens up, we're taking kids from you, right? Centennial opened up, taking kids from you. Treasure Coast opened up, they're taking kids from you and from other schools too. So it's been hard. I mean, years ago, when there was only Port St. Lucie and Westwood, Lincoln
Central.
Park and Central, it was more. I always believed that Port St. Lucie was one of the only community-based schools. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, when it first opened, if people remember, it was a first school, obviously, in Port St. Lucie, but we also took some kids from the Sheridan Plaza, and they had a long bus ride to come to school because they were worried about racial equity. And as another school opened, kids who lived west of the river or west of the turnpike slowly went to those schools, obviously, because it was closer. Right now, we're the smallest high school because Lincoln Park counts 6 through 12, but we're the smallest high school. Westwood's a lot bigger than us. The classification for football just came out, and Westwood's in a higher classification than we are. We were the biggest school in Port St. Lucie.
Correct.
Now we're the smallest. Because people who live on the east side or people who live in South Bend, they're not moving. They love where they live.
That's true.
And their kids went to our school, and so all the growth is out west, and that's where the schools are going. So, trust me, I get kids all the time. You had my dad in school, or you had my mom in school. I wanted to get out before somebody said, you had my grandmother in school, or you had my grandfather in school. So I said, well, it might be time to go.
But that makes you feel good.
It does.
When I went to get my vaccination, I'm looking at this young lady, and she's looking at me, and I'm talking to her. She says, Coach Messina. I said, yeah. She gives me the shot. She's a nurse now.
Right.
And I said, yeah. Her name was Carice, and I had her when I was teaching psychology. And I always mention to somebody, they're always going to call you coach.
Yep.
Right? Times might go on, they might forget your name, but you're always going to be coach to them. What are the biggest changes that you have seen in high school athletics since when you started to now?
Again, I think the work ethic. I think the kids think that they can just start playing as a ninth grader. I think and they're not enjoying the youth programs like we did. Little League was for fun. Little League, yeah, you wanted to win. Now everything's travel ball. Yeah. If you don't play travel ball, you can't get a scholarship. I remember our good friend Mike Eastham at Indian River. He said, I never watched a travel ball game except for my son Chris. Yeah. That's the big lie, in my opinion, that if you don't play travel ball, you can't get a scholarship. Because they call the high school coach and they call the high school athletic director. What's their grades? What's their discipline record? Can they get along in the dorms? All
the years that I was at Centennial, when they came in, especially the football coaches, to recruit players, they bypassed the coach. They bypassed me. They went right to the guidance counselor. And things like that. But you're right, times have changed that way. And they're paying big money. Some of volleyball and some of those sports, that's their living. Those coaches make a living on that. We went up to a seminar years ago with the FHSAA, and Billy Donovan was the speaker. And he had a group of parents, a group of ADs, and it was about, it was basically because we had won the sportsmanship award. But the parents got to ask Billy Donovan questions, and it was a lot about their travel ball. And Billy stopped this one lady in her track and said, wait a minute, ma'am, if your son is good, if he has the grades, we're going to find him. Don't you understand that we have somebody on our staff that's going to find your kid? And she kept saying, but he's only playing this many travel ball games. He said, stop, ma'am. He says, I got a kid that's starting for me that averaged 3 points a game in high school, okay? But it's just, I guess a lot of the misinformation, social media is so different nowadays, And when we first started being ADs, I remember you had to have a 1.5, which was a joke. Right. And they would check your grades every semester. Yeah. And you had one sheet that was as big as the sheet I have in front of me now. It's called the pink sheet. And you can make a kid eligible in about 5 minutes. Now, how many release forms do we have? How many affidavits do we have to sign? And, I'm not blaming the FHSAA. That's just the way society is now. And I know it must have been a tremendous challenge this year with the COVID. We would get phone calls, and it's no one's fault. We would get phone calls an hour before game time. I'm sorry. The health department said that person A is sick, and the whole team is quarantined. Right. And you know what happened. Yeah. You either miss an official, you miss a gate worker, you miss Grandpa coming up from West Palm, and the next day, I came all the way up there. Yeah. It's no one's fault. We had to move and cancel a lot of games, and that was very stressful. But as you know, on the Treasure Coast, we have some fantastic athletic administrators, and everybody tried to work with each other. We met all summer long, even though we weren't in school. We met all summer long and tried to figure out what we could do to make it easier for everybody. And we all had the same game plan, wearing masks and social distancing and the bleachers and things like that. So we just have had a fantastic group of people to work with, from Sebastian River all the way down to South Fork, out west to Okeechobee. I think hopefully the hardest part is behind us now, hopefully with the pandemic and everything. But I think your hardest part was actually starting up this year with the football, because there were so many recommendations, and you and I talked, and I talked to a lot of people on the state committee. They, in my opinion, they kind of rushed it starting. you know.
They did, they wanted to get it going, and I understand.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure from the communities to say, listen, I want my kid to play football. This is his senior year, and boy, if he misses his senior year, he won't get a scholarship. Again, don't worry. Florida State knows about you, or FAU knows about you.
They'll have a tape on you. They got tapes on you.
Right.
You've been involved in a lot of programs with the FIAAA and the FHSAA. Can you explain a few of them?
FIAAA is the organization for athletic directors in the state and nationally. I bent my arm to be the president, so I did that. And I was on the board for 15 years, and I thoroughly enjoyed that.
I think the best part of the FIAAA is when you talk to other ADs and you say, you know what, you got the same problems we got. Now, can we help each other out, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The hospitality room, you learned a lot.
Yes.
I would go in there like a vacuum cleaner and suck up all the information I could get. And then when you're a little bit older, then you got the young ADs. Right. Hey, how did you handle this problem? How did you handle that problem? And on the national level, I was on the endowment committee for 8 years. They raised money for opportunities for communities to get their CAA for free. And I really enjoyed being on that committee. And I enjoyed all that, all those committees, all the people that I met, FHSA and
that's what I miss. I miss some of those meetings. We had some really great time. Okay, in 5 or 6 minutes we got left, tell us some good AD stories.
The first one I could think of is we were playing Dwyer in a regional final basketball game.
I'm laughing because I know it's coming up.
So Dwyer came up, and they've been doing it at colleges and high schools forever. They came up, and when they introduced the other team, which was us, they put the papers in front of their faces like they were bored. Our kids saw that. They were a little upset. We win the game. We go to the state Final Four in Lakeland. So we're playing Tampa Chamberlain. Well, they introduced us, and then they introduced Chamberlain as the home team. Our kids took out their phones and turned their backs to the... We're a little bit more progressive than Dwyer was.
I thought you were going to mention the time that we played Dwyer in the regional baseball game at our school. It was a burning hot day, and Rick was pitching. We beat him 2-0. He struck out 18, and the coach was talking to him for about 45, 50 minutes after the game, and I wasn't going to leave until you left. And all of a sudden, the sprinklers came on. I don't know why.
Magically
Magically they came on. But wasn't one of that first close with the AD, you would tell your coaches, whatever you got to say to the kids, get on the bus. Let's just get on the bus and go.
They don't comprehend anyways. They've lost or a tough loss or whatever.
You can't say, get on the bus. Get on the, because you're always going to have a parent saying to the other parent, geez, my kid played, your kid didn't play,
right,
you know?
Right.
So
the other story is, and this only happened, this was with Area Superintendent Adrian Ocampo.
Okay.
We had a pep rally, and he said, look, this is what, he was in the center of the court. He said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to call the principal of Point Siena. That's who we were playing.
That's right.
He said, now, I'm going to tell him I got people in my audience. That's all of you.
Yeah.
When I say the Jaguars are going to win, I'm going to hold my phone up, and you yell, go Jaguars. So he said, hello, is Mr. Smith there? This is Principal Ocampo from Port St. Lucie High School. I'll hold. So I'm on hold. I said, well, sir, you're going to play us tonight, and we think, you think you're going to win, but we got something different. I got some people in my office here that think a little bit different. Holds up. Kids all yell, go Jaguars. He'd done it several times before as a principal. About a half hour later, he calls me over the PA. I go in, I go, what's the matter? He goes, the principal at Point Siena is furious. He said, the Port St. Lucie High School kids Googled the number at Point Siena, and they had like 50 phone calls. The phone was jumping off the wall. And he said, he's really mad. He said, the poor lady's answering the phone. So that was kind of funny, and he said, look, I've done it at other schools. I guess The Jaguars are a little bit smarter, a little more progressive, just like they were when Kareem took the team to the Final Four.
I remember the first year that I came up here, you asked me to help out at the football games. So you gave me the gate the first game. And I'll never forget, we played, I guess it was Ocala Vanguard. And I saw the biggest young man I have ever seen walk through the door. And, you know, I'm looking at his number, and it was like 6 or 7. I said, he's got to be the quarterback. And they killed us. Find out later, nicest person in the world is Dante Culpepper, you know, on that. But we had a lot of good times at our field. I think of a lot of games. I know when Rick was pitching, we had all the scouts, and you kind of pushed them away from me.
You know, I was talking about this last night. When all those scouts came, they all wanted to get behind home plate.
Right.
But 84 and 84 and 84, how many jugs guns? I'm just a simple guy. How many jugs guns that have to 84 that they figure out that he's pitching 84? But all 26 wanted to get in there. So we put a barrier up behind there, so none of them could get behind there. Of course, they weren't happy with us. And my other story is that Peter Gammons ripped Rick on ESPN. And my dad called and he said, boy, Peter Gammons was kind of tough on Rick Ankiel. He didn't think he's player of the year. So I went to Charlie Kumo, and he talked to the superintendent, and we got a order that said he couldn't be on our campus. And I made him park the ESPN truck across the street, which is not public property, because Port St. High School's private property. He said, what do you mean? I said, he's 17 years old and you ripped him on ESPN. That's not right. And we had the backing of everybody up the food chain. And I was waiting. He didn't rip me. He knew he was wrong. And we've had a lot of the Scott Boros that showed up and people like that were very professional. Very, very professional. They didn't make comments.
That was fun, but it wasn't fun.
Right.
And I think our biggest job that whole year, we ended up 29-2, and we lost to Dunedin in the regional finals. And it was fun, but the pressure on everybody and the pressure on Rick, and I saw him last week, and I'll never forget what he said to me after that game. It was the only game he lost his senior year, and we had a 2-0 lead. We should have been up 5-0, and he said to me, Coach, I'm sorry I let you down. I'm saying, Rick, you never let us down and everything.
I want to finish with one story. Okay. So we're playing out to the Met Stadium, and I told him, no beer. You can't sell beer, whatever you do, all week long. Well, they changed managers that morning.
Right.
The first 2 people in had beer. I almost had a heart attack. I said, let me pay you for the beer. You got to dump it out. I'm going to go to jail because the FHSA doesn't allow any alcohol at events. And
that was fun.
We ended up beating St. Thomas.
Right.
And they left all their boxes of cereal on the ground. And they went back.
That could be a story within itself. But listen, I want to thank you so much. How quick this time goes. I mean, you've been a great friend, a great mentor to me. I know you're looking forward to retirement. I'm looking forward to, as soon as I feel a little bit better, we're going to get out on that golf course and start playing again,
Listen, St. Lucie County paid me to do a job. I did it the best I could. And it was a job. And I look forward to seeing the yellow buses rolling every day.
Yes, and you're not going to miss that. And thanks for another edition of Hey Coach.